Start recording. Okay. Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Sunday morning, a little after 11 a.m., May 25th, 2025. And yes, the month of May is about over. So, uh, see where we're going this morning. We on yesterday, I thought was a very interesting day and very productive, uh, in my estimation anyway. We talked about uh, the Pope's response to President Toure sending him a letter. And we listened to the Pope's response uh, in part. We only listened to about 5 minutes of it. And uh, we were inviting everyone, if you would, to take a listen if you wanted to go to YouTube to pull it up. And don't know if any of you had a chance to do that, but if you had any responses to it, if you did, uh, anyone have anything that they like to add to what we've already discussed about that?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Ron, I got a chance to listen to what the Pope said driving down the road,
Uh-huh.
and it still didn't do nothing for me. Then I got a chance to I went to the lesson and I looked at the lesson by way of my tablet or my phone, and I saw the 5 minute intro, and it
Hmm.
inspired me to go look at it on YouTube. And what I got from it, Ron, was his speech. It wasn't. It was very much uninspiring to me, and I almost gathered that someone wrote that speech for him. Because when I looked at it and I'm hearing and I'm seeing him, it's like he never held his head up or anything like that. Now I'm not saying, Ron, in Greater New Faith, that what he said did not need to be said. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you the Pope and
Do
you
you
have
doubt?
no homilet. Go
Do
ahead.
you
I'm
doubt?
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to ask you a question. Do you doubt his sincerity in what he was saying?
I would have to say yes. I doubt his sincerity because when the handshake don't line up with the smile, something off. But that I'm not saying what he said did not need to be said, Ron. I'm just
Uh-huh.
saying for someone to speak like that, not the whole. You go to it and listen to it and count how many times he held his head up. When people speak, Stephen A. Smith, he has personality. Doesn't matter what the topic is. So I just gathered that his speech was very uninspiring. Yet the good of my interpretation of that was what Reverend Richard said. Reverend Richard said, we are the children of a cable line, and we ought to bring light to change people's mindset. So I'm not in, I don't see anything wrong, and it just wasn't uninspiring, but because of that speech, it kind of gave birth to what Reverend Richard said. So it was some good in it, but I didn't. It didn't do nothing for me. Thank you.
Okay. Pastor? Thank you,
Yeah,
George.
thank you, George. Um, First of all, that's his mannerism. That's how he delivers. If you look at popes in the past, what you will observe, or listen rather, what you will observe is the monotone voice. All of them speak like that. The second thing is that he was not making a speech; he was reading a letter, and the letter that he was reading um, was the letter that he wrote, or his speechwriter wrote in response to the letter that he had received from Ibrahim Traore. So actually, there are very few presentations via speech that any pope has that is that would be what exciting or that would fit the mold that you're talking about, George. And as you said, and I agree 100%, it needed to be said, but also it had to be said by him, regardless of what we think about Christianity or the Pope for that matter, Catholicism, whatever. We must acknowledge the reality, as was acknowledged yesterday. I think it was Kathy, but not, yeah, it was her, talked about his authority because of the number of people who is under his tutelage, his Catholic tutelage. That's important. There have not been anyone, whether it be Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Protestant, it doesn't matter, who has spoken the words that he spoke in regards um, to Africa and Africans. Um, and he was not just speaking to the Africans on the continent of Africa. He was speaking to Africans worldwide. As Kwame Nkrumah said, um, there is you. You're an African not because you were born in Africa, but you are an African because Africa was born in you. So what I'm saying in essence is this: he was speaking to you, George, as well as he was speaking to Ibrahim Traore and every other African on this earth. And I think that we have to look beyond presentation and see the energy and the power in what's being said, as opposed to the presentation plus who is saying it. And his not looking up um, does not does not mean anything really. There are people who preach and don't look up because they're reading their text. They're reading what they have written or what they have bought to read. So I don't give I don't take away from it based upon those things. Um, if you've ever had a public speaking class, I don't mean you, George, and to my any of us, you're taught to look up periodically as you are reading a speech. And simply because he didn't, because he's reading the letter, it doesn't take anything away from it. At least I don't think it does at all. Thank you, George.
Um, if I may respond before George comes back on, I, uh, I understand the skepticism because when I first got it, my first thoughts was I've never heard anything in favor of the African coming from the Catholic Church, and however, when I listened to it, I immediately felt what he was saying. Uh, I want to say this part though that I think we when not only as an African, but as the tip of the spear, the people on this phone are extremely important with everything that happens in this world. Um, I was looking at something. We talked a couple weeks ago about the cloud of witnesses. We were talking about the ancestors, and it made me go back in the Old Testament and look at something. And one of the things I'm looking at is when the Hebrews are going through the wilderness, God sent with them a cloud, a pillar of clouds by day and a pillar of fire by night. And I went back and looked at that. And fire is fire. It means fire. But the pillar of clouds talks about a covering. And clouds also talk about sorcery or to conjure up something. That's what the root talks about. So, what am I saying? You are the spiritual covering of this world. And although we don't need to detail uh, any type of results that we want to see in the world, we do have a right and an obligation to always seek righteousness and truth. So I took that to mean because we always look at conjuring and stuff like that as something negative because that's what we've been taught. But to me, it means spirituality. You are spiritual. And what we pull from those words, just like we pull from the scriptures or the spirituality in it. We pull the spiritual meaning out of it and bring life to them. So if if there is anything, whether he meant it, how he meant it or not, we have a uh, active role in activating that, which is what we talked about yesterday. You are an activator. And I think that is the difference. And I hope that makes sense to you. And if you're just joining us, anybody, we were talking about on yesterday, we listened in part. Sheldon played in a part, maybe about the first 5 minutes, to the Pope's letter of response to President Toure and from Burkina Faso. So we listened to it in part, and we invited everyone yesterday to please listen to it, and so we could continue the discussion if there was anything you had to say on it. So anyone, any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I when you mentioned the word conjure, when to conjure means to invoke something, to influence something by invocation,
Okay.
meaning that you're influencing something by invoking spirituality. Now, but as you said, we have been taught that to conjure means something negative. But the true meaning of conjure is speaks to influence by invoking something, whether it
Okay.
be something negative or whether it be an invocation of positivity. So, um, what I heard in that speech is an invocation based upon spirituality, even though he did not say spirituality. The
Right.
reason I say that it is because his sense of spirituality is Jesus slash Christianity. That's all he knows. And he used in that speech the highest powers that were available to him based upon what he knows to invoke spirituality, deliverance, to invoke a desire for Africans to be guided by Africans because no one else knows what the African needs other than the African. So I heard that invocation loud and clear. And that is the reason I lend a lot of credence to not only what he was saying, but to the transformation of the energy of negativity towards the African that was being addressed during that period of his of the region of that letter. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I applaud wholeheartedly what he said. And to be quite frank with you, um, the spiritual leadership in this country is very vague, if not totally unresponsive to the invocation of our being Africans, simply because Africa is in us as opposed to us being on the continent of Africa. Our spiritual leaders don't invoke that reality, but the Pope did. Why? Even if the African doesn't, it doesn't change who we are. But if the invader, if the one who protected and influenced enslavement and the humanizing of the African begins to say that we were wrong, that the world has been wrong, that Europe has been wrong in the way that it has treated the African. It is time for the African to rise and stand on his own feet. When that is said, that means something. And it is not us seeking permission from anyone because we know who we are. And again, I repeat what Nkrumah said. You're an African not because you were born in Africa, but because Africa was born in you. That means we're not seeking permission. What we're doing is hearing. We are hearing someone say that it's time for those who have had their foot on your neck to leave you the hell alone. Primarily, is what he was saying. Does that make sense? What are your questions in regards to that?
I don't have questions,
Oh,
Or comments?
but go ahead, George. I'm sorry. I'll wait.
okay. Well, Reb, or to the group, I want to know more about the person who wrote the letter to the Pope, because I just don't see no change coming through the Pope or the Catholic Church or anything like that. What is it that we need to know about him? Just in looking at him, I'll butcher his name, but what did he get his education from? Not that education means something. What is it that we need to know about him? And do you think we need to write a letter to him? He's a powerful person too. I'm a powerful person. Let's write a letter to him and thank him for what he did to fort. I'm sorry, Rev.
No, I'm sorry, George. I interrupted you. You go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, Rev.
No, see, first of all, we don't write letters. We are the letter. We are the words. That's who we are. We have the authority to invoke based upon spirituality, to influence based upon spirituality. We have that right. We have that authority. As to who wrote the letter, it doesn't matter. What matters is the energy of the words that were on the page. That's what matters. Everyone has a speechwriter except us. Everyone except us. I remember making speeches, and if you had to read your speech from read a typed speech, you were not received very well. Bullet points at best. But speaking for 45 minutes to an hour, that's just what we did, based upon what's in us. We learned to write speeches because that was the quote unquote educated way to present what you felt so that you would not go off course. Writing a speech is a method of controlling what you say. And that control that was exhibited in that letter that he was reading means something, because if he did not agree with it, he would not have read it. Do you think for a moment that he read that letter cold, the response to that letter? You think that the first time that he read it was doing that recording? No, he read that long before then, and he agreed with everything that was in it. Even Ibrahim Touré, he does not write all of his speeches or letters. As a matter of fact, there are letters I've read that he did write without the help of his speechwriter or without the help of his team. So I'm saying all of that to say this: it, even if the devil brought it, the Lord sent it. I heard that all my life. So it doesn't matter that a Catholic Pope said it. The words, we have the authority to make the words powerful because words carry energy. And the energy of those words means something. So I now, as far as, it making you feel a certain kind of way, that's okay. It doesn't matter. You have a right to feel the way you feel. You have a right to disregard or to embrace. That's your right. It's also our authority to make sure that this is received in the macro in a manner that will be a continuous form of protection and deliverance. Protection for Ibrahim and those who are following him, as well as deliverance for all Africans, whether they are in a Kabbalah physically or whether a Kabbalah is in them in the diaspora. I'm done. Any, what's your questions or your comments?
This is Barbara. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, ma'am. Go ahead.
I just I responded to a couple people after I listened to that, and I pulled out a couple threads, but they're not nearly the number of threads that I wanted to pull out. Just to remember, and this, if you listen to the words, this was very insightful and very thoughtful. The speech talked about Africa's spirituality is not borrowed but born. That's what you were talking about when you were talking about in Chromium, talking about you were not born in Africa, but Africa was born in you. That's the essence of that. Africa's spirituality is not borrowed from some other religion, like lots of religions came to Africa to learn about spirituality and then took it back and tweaked it so it met their own needs. That's not what happened. Africa's spirituality is not borrowed, but is born. It said Africa is the soul, the church's soul in motion. That says a lot to me, because the soul in motion is about what you do, not just about what you say with your lips. And if you believe that all of us are deity, and all of us were created in the image of the Creator self, then what you do in your actions support that. In other words, you don't treat anybody inhumanly. You treat everybody with dignity and respect, that kind of thing. So when you said that Africa's the church's soul in motion, it just says to me that based on the tenets of what originally was believed in terms of Ma'at, that's the soul in motion. Community was what is important, and how we embrace each other, regardless of any of the buckets or the descriptors that we put on people. Talked about forgiveness is not the erasure of memory, but the recognition of memory. In other words, what that said to me was that the speech was insightful in that the things that are happening now in terms of trying to erase history, trying to erase culture, this Pope talked about that not being what we need to do, that we needed to understand and embrace the culture and the history of Africans. So it said to me very deeply that he knew a lot more than, or he was willing to say a lot more than any pope in the past, and he didn't have to do this. I think this took courage. It took courage because he is the leader of so many millions of people. It took courage for him to stand up there and say, okay, Mr. President Traore, I'm reading your letter, and you asked about cardinals and why are there not as many Africans who are cardinals or bishops, blah blah blah, in the Catholic Church, and if the Catholics say that they love people all over the world, why is it not so? And this Pope made a commitment to change that. And so the proof is in the pudding, and we shall see what we shall see. But in this letter, in his response, he made a commitment that he understood this, appreciated this, and I felt the vibration that he wanted to change that. He
Yes.
talked about Africa not merely being the cradle of humanity, but the soul of humanity's future. So for someone to say these words in response to the president, they were thought provoking. It said to me that it had been thought through, it had been thought out, and these words vibrated and they resonated with me so deeply. So again, the proof is in the pudding. It's what we do and what we are allowed to do, because he is surrounded by those who support him as well and those who do not. As much as in this country and in other countries, those in governance are surrounded by people who support them and people who do not. But I believe that his words were genuine. I believe that he was genuine. And Pastor, you said we needed to, support, put in the macro that which will support and build up Africans, etc. But this is an opportunity for us to do that with this Pope as well, because there has never been another Pope who's done this to this point. And it could be the change that's needed in Catholicism, because not only does change need to occur in this religion or that religion, but every single religion. And Catholicism has its tendrils, tentacles, into so many countries, a lot of them poor countries. And that's where the fire needs to be set. That's where the change needs to be made. And so this is a potential opportunity, even with the Catholic Church, to do that. Thank you.
Good
Well,
morning.
to the group.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what BJ was just saying. To me, he called out everything that had been done to Africa, not only by European governments, but he also called out what the Catholic Church has done to Africa. And I think because of that, and then he set the foundation of the fact that spirituality was in Africa from the beginning. So he called out all the stuff, and then he reset the foundation as sort of like going back to beginning. And because of that, I think the energy in his words has been a resetting of the mindset of people. Because when you acknowledge things, that's the beginning of healing. So I think him calling out all that stuff and then resetting the foundation, that's going to heal the mindset of so many people in terms of what Africa is and is capable of. Anyway, that's what I got from it.
Thank you.
And Audrey, but George, before you speak, I agree with you, Audrey. Grand Rising family, this is Kathy. As I'm listening to the conversation and everything, I agree. I think this is a spiritual thing that's being activated. Like we said, it has to be activated. These are things that we have stood in the gap and stood firm on, waiting to hear and to just see a modicum of change begin to take place. And for him to acknowledge this and to say these things out loud, you're saying who wrote the speech, who said, let a speechwriter give the speech to Donald J. Trump. And as much as he loves money, you could not pay him enough to part his lips to utter the words of the speech. So as you pointed out, Pastor, for him to review the speech, I'm sure he made modifications to the speech, and then he delivered the speech. This means something. And when we look at things spiritually, these are the things that we have been waiting to see take place. This is something spiritual. And if I
Yeah.
look at it with just my eyes, I'm going to totally miss it and think it's just another European mindset person standing up giving lip service to something that means nothing. But if you see it through the eye of the Spirit, you recognize, and it resonates deeply, that this is the change. This is ushering in the change. When we talk about the mindset, eyes will be open, ears will hear, and then hearts will change. And that ushers in the browning, I made up my own word today, the melanization of this whole world. That's what we've been standing in the gap for. And I see this as the catalyst spiritually to usher all of this in. And so as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, okay, if you want to pick it out and say who read the speech, or that's just giving lip service, there are those in this country, our president being one of them, who would never stand before anyone and say these words. So when you put it in perspective like that and begin to understand, this is the ushering in of everything that we've been standing in the gap for. It's the beginning. Now, there are other things that are going on that if you're not looking and paying close enough attention, you'll miss it and just see it as another event. But there are spiritual things happening all around us based on our energy that we're putting out there, that we're putting into the macro that's making these changes. And I'm going to say the scripture, the universe is doing a new thing. Will you not see it? If you don't look for it, you will miss it. That's what the scripture tells you. You will not see it if you're not recognizing and open to the newness of what's happening. So I just wanted to share those things. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things I want to add, and it's not meant to sound like I'm the antagonist, yet courage, what the Pope said to me, is not courage. He got the Swiss Army that back him. Courage to me is when you don't have backing and you say the things to give some attention to. And people who say things that you don't see their backing, that doesn't mean they don't have one. So, and what the Pope said, that's not courage to me. Even what Donald Trump said, that ain't, you got Secret Service for you. When you don't have that protection and you get out here, you come off the porch, you become a creator, and you bring something toward humanity, now that to me is courage. So I just disagree with what was said. It took courage for him. I just disagree respectfully in that. That ain't courage to me. That's all. Thank you.
And you have a right to define courage for yourself. But when we look at courage, when someone is speaking from a vantage point of authority, knowing that they can be removed, they can be damaged, they can be ridiculed by the people they lead, to make a statement that is not, that no one else who's in a position of that kind of authority would make. Courage is not defined by foolishness. Courage is not defined. It doesn't mean that you are courageous simply because you stand up and say something knowing that you don't have backing and you're going to be killed for saying it. That doesn't make sense. There are different types of courage or different places for courage. It was courageous for Stokely Carmichael to stand and speak knowing that there were those who were seeking to take his life. It was courage for Stokely Carmichael to move him and his family out of this country when he was told that he was a target and was offered to move to Guinea by Sekou Touré. It took courage for him to continue to enter this country. He left to protect his family. It took courage for the Pope to say what he said, knowing that he just stepped into that position, knowing that he was speaking in the face of white supremacy, of white nationalism, of Christian nationalism. He knew what he was talking about. It took courage for him to say that the soul of humanity is not in Europe, it's in Africa. It took courage for him to say that everyone who is following the course of spirituality has borrowed spirituality from the African, because the African is spirituality. It took courage to say that. Just like it takes courage for a woman who's being verbally or physically battered to stand up to the one who's abusing her and say things and address the abuse. It takes courage to do that. So when you talk about it doesn't take courage simply because you have an army behind you. Having an army behind you means absolutely nothing if you don't have the guts, if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to say what needs to be said at the time it needs to be said. If you are afraid to say something because it's going to threaten your position, you're not courageous at all. And as Kathy and others have said, you can put that speech in Donald J. Trump's hand and you can offer him $2 billion to read it. He's not going to do it because he's a white nationalist and he does not want that to threaten his position, the position that he holds. So I'm done. Any questions that you may have or comments?
I just see this as every step, and somebody mentioned beginning, going back to beginning. I think Audrey said that. See ourselves in this. We are not agitators, we're activators. And we are covering. And Pastor mentioned the spiritual leaders of this country. Guys, be no mistake about it. You are the spiritual leaders, not only of this country, but of the world. And we've sat together on several occasions as we've done this for years now. We know each other very well. We've talked about our hurts. We've talked about our pains. We talked about some of our struggles. And what we realize is we're nobody special as the world counts special people. We don't come from money. We don't come from prestigious places. We are just humble little people searching for truth. And that has made us into something more. And do not look at your past or your upbringing and thinking, why not? Why me? How can this possibly be me? It is you because you desire it to be. And I don't uh I don't mind some of what George said at all, because we are the covering and we have to address all the doubt and put positivity of all of this into the macro. And so as we look at this, look at yourselves, look at the role that you have played so far in this and where it is going. You only see what we need to see at the time we need to see it. And we do have that pillar of clouds and that pillar of fire that is traveling this journey with us. And that is your assurance that you're going in the right direction. But do not cut yourself short. We do not need armies behind us. We do not need to look at these things politically as we have learned in the past. You are spiritual. That's who and what we do. So
The right covering, the cloud, the fire, the pillar of fire. During the periods of day, the cloud followed them. It covered them. When you get enlightenment, which the day represents enlightenment,
mhm.
when you get enlightenment, that enlightenment produces a covering for you. It becomes a covering for you. It becomes your protector, your guide. And the idea of in your darkest hour, during the darkest period of your life, that fire represents the energy that is necessary to pull you from that place and help you to understand that this, in your darkest hour, you're in a place of wisdom. You're too troubled to recognize that. And when you recognize that you're in this place of wisdom and you search for answers and you get the answers, that's the enlightenment that covers you, that brings you through that dark, uncomfortable place in your life. So when we talk about being the covering for humanity, when we talk about that, we travel through darkness as well. We have trials, we have tribulations, but we cannot allow them to determine how we're going to influence humanity, and we cannot allow those trials to influence us in a manner that will get us off track. Even those things that appear to be negative, we have to repurpose the energy in them. And in the reading of the speech, of the letter rather, the energy in the words that were read is extremely powerful, even though the source of those words were attributed to Christianity, to Jesus, to God as he know him. They were attributed to that, but they came from a deeper source than that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the words of Christianity came from his lips. What matters is the power that was in the words that were said, because every one of us, when it comes to where we are now, our genesis is Christianity. Every one of us. And before we got to a place where we understand what we understand now, for years, everything we taught was answering questions and searching for truth based upon Christianity. You know that, I know that, we know that. And because of this trek along of the pathway of Christianity, our eye was open because of the desire to understand Christianity. We were not trying to understand spirituality. We were trying to understand Christianity. And we had a serendipitous experience. And that serendipitous experience showed us it is not Christianity, it's spirituality.
Yeah.
And when we start searching for the truth of spirituality, we were searching for God. We wanted to know God. And when we met God, God did not look like we thought it was going to look. In our search for God, we had another serendipitous experience. We found ourselves. And in finding ourselves, the question that we were asking, how can we be co-creators? We realized you're not co-creators, we are creators. All these serendipitous experiences that we have had has brought us to a place of authority, a place of spiritual power that has always been within us. It has given us a glimpse into who we have always been and not even known it. And the moment that we released, or we took off the shroud, the robe of Christianity, and walked through this valley of shadow of death, so that the death of those beliefs that we held dear to could be removed from us, could be purged from us. The moment we took that shroud of Christianity off and walked naked in the midst of our ancestors, we were then clothed with righteousness. We were then clothed with understanding. We were clothed with the energy of truth and enlightenment. And now that that's happened, we are no longer naked in the garden. We are fully clothed. Now, whether we stay fully clothed or not is up to us. And what determines that is whether or not we walk away from the mirror that shows us who we are.
Yeah.
When you turn your head from the mirror, you don't see who you are anymore until you turn your head back to the mirror. And sometimes It takes us to help each other face that mirror again, because the burdens get heavy and the trials become very painful at times. And the healing comes when we are open to truth, whether that truth is coming from the ancestors directly to us, or whether that truth is coming from the ancestors to those around us. We embrace that truth, and the healing not only begins, but the healing takes place once we turn our face back to that mirror. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. What all of this I think it's been a beautiful couple of days uh with this discussion and seeing uh the journey that we have embarked on taking shape. And because none of us saw this happening, coming like this. And to me, it is a beautiful journey. I like where we are. And I
And
hope,
this,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
nothing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It excites me
Yes.
because what we are seeing taking shape is something that we didn't shape. It's something that shaped us.
Yeah.
And we are continuously being shaped by it as opposed to trying to shape it. And these serendipitous experiences rather, but the serendipitous experience are the hands that's shaping us as opposed to us shaping it. And that is in itself is a glorious experience.
Yes.
You have all of these eggheads, all, all of these intellectually strong people, and I say these words loosely. We have all, and yet humble enough to sit back and say, I can't shape this. I don't know what it should be. I have no clue of what I'm going to experience. It doesn't matter. Let it shape me.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, but it's not an easy thing, especially when you're accustomed to fixing things, when you're accustomed to helping people get through things and not knowing how you get yourself through it. And now you just sit back and let the eye see and the ancestors work. That's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Pastor, I have a comment, family.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
First, I want to pay homage to the ancestors, but I can see the excitement now because it's like we're seeing the fruits of our labor. Our labor is not in vain. I really didn't realize what that scripture meant, but I can see now, and I can see the reason why we should be excited because you guys always say that we're here at this appointed time. So anytime you do things and you don't think you could see what you've done, it is disheartening and you feel like you start second guessing yourself, doubting yourself. Am I making a difference? Am I making a difference? But every time we get on the phone, Zoom, and you guys just bring us to our attention, it does make me feel excited and let you know that, okay, I am making a difference in the universe. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
You reminded me of something, Evelyn. I remember as a kid growing up and all the lessons and your parents sitting you down. I used to hate when my mama sit me down and talk. She gonna talk 15 minutes. I ain't want to hear all that. But you were forced to sit there. And I remember when I first left home on my own, I could not take my mind off of my family. All those lessons and all those things. And I remember I'd be caught up in a situation with being with people I probably didn't need to be with, and I think about home. And I think about sitting on that little bench Mama used to sit us on and hearing her voice. So, point I'm making is we don't always see what's going on. We don't always see it. We don't always hear it or think we hear it or appreciate it when we really do appreciate it. And I think that's where we are now. We all this journey, things we didn't see and didn't, think we were moving in the direction we're moving in. Here we are. And that's what I embrace. All those lessons that I thought were in vain. And I couldn't wait to get from under her voice, but her voice has never left me. So that's where we are. That's what I thought about when you said that.
And Ron, this is Charles. You were just that prodigal son leaving home.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Charles.
I think most of us are prodigal sons leaving home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't want to leave anybody out though. Any other thoughts? Thank you, Evelyn and Charles. Any other thoughts or questions about this? Because I think this this letter that both this correspondence between both of these leaders was very spiritual, very insightful, and very necessary. And I thank the Pope for what he did because to put it out there, because you would not have seen this globalized by CNN, by Fox News, or anybody like that. So with him responding in the way it did, it's going to be maybe shocking to some people, but it's going to put it out there. It's going to expose it. And that too is to be rewarded or celebrated, rather. Anyone else?
Hey, Ron, this is Charles again.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see what y'all talking about,
Uh-huh.
but for what I'm hearing, I'm thinking that the whole spoke the way he spoke and said it the way he said it, because like you said, in that kind of power, you can't just say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So when he got that letter that Red said, he tweaked that letter though, and I guess when he was talking and telling people what's what, people that know, people that understand, gotta, caught what he was talking about. But the one that didn't understand, they got deterred. That's just like being in the Matrix. If you're in that Matrix, that man had told the guy in the black coat, can't get his name, but anyway, when he saw double like that, he said the people is in the system now, and that's why they had to run and move. So if they didn't understand that, they'd all been shot and killed, and nothing would have, came about it. They'd been put back in the system again. But they knew. Someone in that group knew. So that's why they moved, to keep from being caught. But like I said, your ears ain't gonna pick up everything, and your regular eyesight ain't gonna pick up everything. But in the spirit, you pick up all things. That's how I saw it.
Thank you. You muted, Ron.
Ashe, Charles.
Ashe.
No, I was just telling Charles I appreciate his words, but he said he hadn't seen it. I just sent it to him. If you get a chance to listen to it later.
Okay.
I intentionally today started where we left off yesterday. And I did not ask any questions. Is there anything else that may have gotten your attention or that you wish to address at this time? Questions or comments? Okay. Well, I one day last week or week before last, I can't remember, we were talking, and I was talking about the ancestors, and yes, sir.
Before you go there, Ron.
Yes, sir. I'm not going to get into it today. I'm just
No,
going to.
I was going to ask the question.
Yes,
Who
sir.
told you you were naked? That something hit me just now. Who told you you were naked?
Yeah.
Who told you you didn't know who you are? Who told you that you were without power? Who told you that you had no beginning? Who told you that you were born to be enslaved? Who told you that you were less than human? Who told you you were nothing? Who told you you were naked? You are
Yes.
no longer naked. It's not about the fig leaves. It's all about knowing who you are. Don't let anyone tell you that you're naked. You are the only one who can cause you to walk around naked. And the way you do that is by accepting the lies that you've been told about yourself and about those who look like you. You were looking for fig leaves. You were looking for something that's not real to cover your nakedness. So you went to the major institutions in this country and you sought for corporate jobs and major investments so that you could fit in. And what you ended up realizing is that no matter how much you tried to fit in, you were still naked. Because you were trying to follow the course of the enslaver, the mindset that has sought to destroy humanity, that has sought to control all of humanity. That's why you felt naked. That's why you've been found wanting. That's why you're never satisfied. You always want more. That's why you're not at peace within. That's why all the noise is in your mind constantly, because you are naked. You have believed the lie. Walk away from the lie. Close your eyes and begin to see for real, for real.
Yeah.
Close your ears so you can hear. And in doing so, you will find your clothes in the tree of life. The knowledge of the life that you are, the knowledge of understanding that you are the soul of humanity, you are the spirit of everything that is. That's what clothes you. That's who you are. So now you are in a position to clothe humanity. By showing humanity who you are, that's how you clothe humanity.
Yeah.
Abraham began to talk about who we are. And humanity began to look at him and say, he makes sense. I want to do that. People who were enslavers are saying, leave them alone. They are the ones who to bring freedom to this earth. Why? Because one man put his life on the line because he realized the only way he could be clothed is to be who he was created to be. And Ashe, I say to that. I'm done.
Ashe.
Shay. And I think that's a good place to leave it. Take a pause. You guys agree? Okay.
See you guys.
Yes, I agree with you,
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
All
And
right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
oh,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.